Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today I've got another replay for you guys, this time featuring TSIOF's own Super Explode and Mr. RNGeebus in a division in a tier 10 game. Super here is in the tier 9 Techline British light cruiser, the Neptune, a ship that I don't miss that much. I do have the Minotaur. I grinded through the British light cruiser line, shoot, must have been 6-7 months ago. Didn't really like the Neptune that much. Minotaur, you know, it's the Minotaur. But the Neptune was kind of a sore spot for me. I found myself getting deleted a lot in it, more so than the Minotaur. But yeah, explodes in the Elbing, the tier 10 German destroyer in quotation marks. We all know how the German destroyer split. Basically has light cruiser guns with god tier AP that can citadel pretty much everything short of actually decently armored battleships. Then we have Mr. RNGeebus in his Slava, the ship that I did a video on a few days ago. The Kremlin with 16-inch guns, but with the god tier accuracy at range and awesome AP, yet no armor on it whatsoever in comparison to other tier 10 battleships. And what these guys are going to do for you guys today is demonstrate one simple trick that you can do that will help you win quite a few more matches, especially if most of the people watching do take this to heart and put this into practice. So what we got going on here is Super's pushing into the sea cap here. He has a smoked Neptune, does not have the radar equipped. If the Neptune can do that, don't remember if the Neptune can take smoke just like the Minotaur can, because it's been that long since I played the thing. But he does have smoke, hydro, and of course his British dockyard super heals. Open fire there for a second on the Hipper. There's also, as you can tell on the minimap, an enemy Ragnar that, oh, well, there he is now. He's been spotted by Explode. He's engaging Explode, which I find interesting that he would open up his guns, knowing that there's a Neptune right here, and would, of course, just try to run away and go dark. Super pops his hydro, and here goes the Ragnar. Hello, Ragnar. And Super shows us what Neptune is very good at. As with most of the, well, actually all the British light cruisers, they're fantastic at bullying destroyers out of existence here. Getting some very good shots in on the Ragnar there, chunked him for 2k. Is showing a little bit too much broadside there to the Hipper. I'm surprised he actually didn't get citadel there by the Hipper. Hipper switches over to HE, which is interesting because the German cruisers do have some mighty fine AP. If he kept AP loaded, he probably could have citadel Super here with a shot or two. And Jeebus finishes off the Ragnar with some 16-inch shells from the Slava. So now that Super smoked up, opens up on the Hipper, goes undetected behind the island. So they've picked up the first kill of the game, which is the Ragnar. So good, definitely a good pickup there. Ragnar is a terrifying destroyer. It's certainly not one that you want to let run around anywhere near your team. So excellent job there on them for that. So as you can tell right now, Super's the only one capping a cap at the moment. Well, I'd say actively capping a cap. We've got the U-2501 and the Khabarovsk of all ships, and the B cap. Pro tip for you Khabarovsk commanders out there, you don't want to be sitting on an island in B because of what you're about to see here. Khabarovsk is sitting and using its best feature. Absolutely not at all. Khabarovsk is, of course, a run and gun DD. You want to be out in the open, kind of like where Explode is right now, away from the cap, running around, using your maneuverability, using your guns, and burning the world down, not sitting in cap. And if that's a smoke Kaba too, then that's just a crime against humanity. Super tries to arc some shells over at the Hipper. Front turrets smack the islands, rear turrets get their shells off. And it looks like Explode's going after the, what is that, the Massachusetts that I think he was shooting at all the way out there. Gotta love the Elbing. And they just avoid collision right there. So at this time, Super's team does have the only cap available. The only cap captured at the moment. The enemy team looks like they managed to push the Kaba and the 2501 underwater, so they had a few ticks over on the B cap. Looks like the friendly teams managed to push them out of the B cap at this moment. The Cleveland's in there. The Khabarovsk is back again, hugging the island, doing very not Khabarovsky things. Super's opening up on the Massachusetts here. Got a really nice pin there on it. Well, set of pins there on his superstructure. It's always nice when you have ships with chunky superstructures like the American battleships or the German battleships to farm in light cruisers like the Neptune. Popped up, there's a gearing there over there that popped up 17 kilometers away. A little bit out of effective range for the Neptune due to the floatiness of the shells, but battleships are certainly easy enough to farm at longer ranges. Now, of course, the Neptune doesn't have HE, as you're noticing on screen. For those of you that don't know, the British light cruiser line, it trades off that HE for a good rate of fire and improved AP. They get the improved AP pin angles and such, which means that these AP shells will bite at those angles where, let's say, German AP shells or any other nation's AP shells wouldn't normally bite because they get those improved pin angles. Now we've got some farm going in the Massachusetts and North Carolina at the same time. And right now, it looks pretty good for the friendly team. They've got all 3 caps. Well, they have 2 of the caps now, with the enemy team pushing into the A cap right there. That is a Schlieffen. That's not a ship you want to get into a close range engagement with. And Explode and Super both focusing down this North Carolina at the moment. The enemy Shokaku picks up the friendly Harugamo there with a torpedo. The enemy 2501 has managed to sneak in between the A and B caps over on the western side of the map. There's a little bit of a replay hiccup there. You've missed a couple of seconds. They've moved on now to focusing on the Lion down here. And a couple more replay bugs here. I love the replay system. It works well, like 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, it just keeps having strokes over and over and over again. But anyway, so Super is focusing on the Lion. The enemy team, their push into A is continuing. The Schlieffen is hard pushing into A. Like I was mentioning beforehand, the 2501 during that A push managed to sneak in between the A cap and the B cap. And now he's somewhere up north running around amok, which is something that you certainly do not want at all. A submarine with free reign in an open ocean. Super right now is focusing on forming down the Turpics, popping his smoke screen at the moment. And he's hitting the upper belt on the Turpics. It looks like he's obviously trying to get those shells to land on the superstructure to again get those juicy superstructure hits that I was talking about earlier. We've got a hit there for 2,500 and follows it up with another decent hit there. Massachusetts is now getting within range. Super's basically being a rabid chihuahua here and trying to keep the enemy team out of the cap. But right now, the enemy line just picked up the friendly North Carolina, which, if you're looking at the west side of the map, isn't looking too good at all for the friendly team. Both teams are down 3-3 right now. Marceau makes the mistake of getting detected in front of a British light cruiser, and there goes the friendly Cleveland as well. But he quickly goes undetected, but Super is aware of his presence now, so he'll be on the lookout for him. Now it is 4-3 at the moment, with the Cleveland just going down there. So, but still, 2 caps, point advantage. A lot of fairly low health ships out here in the east, so not too big of a deal. If you just hold the caps that you have right now, you'd win in this situation. But we'll see how that goes. Super up to 70,000 damage at the moment. Very low health. Was that? Yeah, the Schlieffen over there is very low. Both of those looking like he's about to push around this corner at the moment. Will he? Oh, but there goes the Pomeran and the Khabarovsk. So now Super's team is down half of their ships, but they do manage to, with Explode going out on a little adventure, get down the Hipper with the Elbing. The light cruiser takes out the heavy cruiser. And that does get them the General Offensive Award there in the chat. Their first round of awards for tonight. And right now, the friendly Zeton is begging Explode for help. Explode says Wilco, and that he will assist. Turpitz again pops up, so Super gets right back to work farming him down. So now the enemy team is pushing as a unit into B, and the only thing in B right now is the 2501. And as tough as submarines might seem to be, you can't take on 3 ships at once to survive for too long, even in something like the U-2501. Massachusetts is way out there at 16.7 kilometers. Super getting some shots in on him as well. Tirpitz is looking like he's about to derp into the island. So he just managed to avoid it at the last second. Marceau pops up at 1100 HP. 5 kilometers in front of Super. Super gets his front turrets out on him. And there we go. Picks up the kill on the Marceau. Buffalo is now pushing towards Super. Now Buffalo is, of course, an American cruiser. And, ooh, American cruisers have American cruiser AP. Takes a pretty big chunk out of Super's health right there. Super's heal is still on cooldown for another minute. Turbot's out there, seems to be completely oblivious to Super's presence. Super pulls a little Notzer there. And the Tirpitz is still oblivious to Super. That's what I was looking at to see if his turrets are turning this way. But no, they're not. They are. He's completely oblivious to Super, even though Super is farming him down. But to his credit, he's probably trying to take out the Pobetta, which now the Schlieffen is done. So now we're down to Super's division with Explode and RNGeebus and one U-2501 against half of the enemy team. This isn't looking too great. And they are down their carrier. Meanwhile, the enemy team still has their Shokaku fully intact. And there goes the Pobetta's last flight of rocket planes into the Tirpitz. And he does not pick him up. Super knocks out a Tirpitz's secondary mount there. We see RNGeebus coming in with his Schlava. There's the enemy 2501 right in front of Super. But Super is in a cruiser equipped with depth charges on their racks. So unlike what RNGeebus just did right there, he cannot launch ASW aircraft. So RNGeebus, eats a very, very large chunk of damage there from the 2501. I'm not sure if the 2501 had hit. No, he had his homing torps on because he was pinging RNGeebus. If those were the unguided torps, that probably would have been the end of RNGeebus there, but thankfully they were not. So that means Super has to literally exit his smokescreen now, and if he wants to attack that 2501, sail over his last known location and drop his depth charges on him. Now, the depth charges that... misjudges the turn there. The depth charges that the ships drop do generally do more damage than the depth charges dropped by plane. Of course, the trade-off being, you have to get out in the open and drop them on the enemy ship. Now, he does have Hydro going too right now, which means if that 2501, there he is within his Hydro range and not at maximum depth, his Hydro will spot the 2501 like it has. 2501's at 23 meters. Looks like he might be trying to come up to periscope depth right here for a second. Nope, went back down. He's going back down now. It's probably... if I was him, definitely be crash diving. Super here is down to 4,000, down to 3,000 HP there for a second, trying to keep up with that damage counter. But RNGeebus comes in with a broadside shot from the Slava and absolutely wrecks the enemy Schlieffen. That nets them the Brothers in Arms and Coordinated Attack medals right there. So they've got the Division Kraken. So, the 2501 is still around. Massachusetts B is taking pot shots at Super from across the map. They've managed to now bring this down from a 4 versus 6 fight to a 4-on-4 fight with Super and the light cruiser here. Well, there goes RNGeebus, unfortunately. He gets taken out by the Shokaku Torps. Again, unfortunately, eating that wall of U-2501 Torps didn't help him out, like he had much choice anyway. And Super's now sailing over the last known location of the 2501. Eats that torpedo right there, and unfortunately eats that one too, and starts dropping depth charges on the 2501. Now, the 2501's above 10 meters, which means that artillery shells can affect him. But now he's slipped below 10 meters, and now he's immune to artillery fire, unfortunately, for Super. And unfortunately, his depth charges did not have a big enough blast radius to affect him. And he picks up a defense expert here as well. Now, the Frilling 2501 is on the surface. Well, he's below the surface. Now he tried to dive, but he's out of dive time. So that means that he can come up to the surface, charge his batteries up for like 10 seconds, then quickly pop down and try and spot the 2501 for Super. Now, the 2501 does also have the emergency battery reserve consumable, which I think he's still burning dive time. Which, if that fella pops that, he can stay underwater for around 30 seconds before he must surface again. And there's the 2501 yet again. Super starts dropping depth charges again, but again, he's not right over him. But, I mean, it's all he can really do to try and keep the sub down. If you're in a submarine and if you don't want to, perish, you do need to go to the max depth in order to minimize the damage and blast waves from the depth charges, which is what Super is trying to get this 2501 to do. He's at maximum depth, can't see anybody, he's basically useless. But he has popped up again, and sure enough, he's at maximum depth. I'm assuming the friendly 2501 has his sonar going and is spotting him. Now, if you look, the enemy 2501's dive time is getting very, very, very low. So he can't stay underwater for much longer. You see the friendly 2501 is firing torpedoes at him, trying to just clip him with one. Now, here comes the enemy Shokaku again. Now, one very good thing about the British cruisers is that their A is still very much intact, even after the CV rework. Up, 2501's out of dive time. He has to surface now. And Super is there, ready with his guns to go, and down to 500 HP there. There goes a pilot. Thankfully, Dockyard Hill comes in clutch, and there we go. Super gets a close quarters expert with his Neptune. So right now, they're 3-on-3. Super's fairly low. Explodes in an Elbing, I think he's around half health, and we have a 2501 with a very limited charge on his batteries. They're winning right now by 300-ish points. There's still 2 ships left alive in the enemy team, along with the carrier. Now, the important lesson to take away from here is that all they have to do is cap and hide. That's all they have to do to win. Now, in random battles, especially recently from my experience, it seems that there is definitely, as there has been, of course, for a very long time in this game, a win harder attitude toward matches like this. You know, you want to keep farming to try and get that damage. Super's only at 110,000 damage, which is good damage, don't get me wrong, especially considering he's fought a lot of DDs and was busy fighting a submarine for the last third of the match. But he could certainly go for more. He still has a smokescreen left, he still has another hill left, and he definitely can get within range even after capping this cap and farm a little bit more damage. Or he can focus on dodging the Shokaku planes and trying to get out of range of the Massachusetts and the Lion, which, if you notice the Lions, he's basically in the next map already, so all he really has to worry about right now is the Massachusetts. Oh, hello, Lion. So Lion's 19 kilometers out. They have all 3 caps now, and you can see, just by the little bit of spine that the CV provided there, Super shot all his planes down, he fired at him. Super has 50 plane kills, by the way, if you haven't noticed already in this match. But Super makes the right call and runs away. The risk is too great that he could eat a random shell. He goes down. Enemy team gets a buff of points. Friendly team, of course, loses the points, which will extend the match even further. Which, who knows, those few more seconds could give the CV, the Massachusetts, the Lion enough time to fire a salvo, maybe get a lucky shot and explode. And now they've done flip the tables with 3 ships left versus 1 submarine. And as crazy as submarines are, it would be pretty difficult to try and manage 3 caps from 1 ship. But Super makes the right call, disengages, and they win the match, which nets Super a 3,000 base XP game on that match, netting them darn near just about every single achievement they could have possibly gotten that match. So, good on you guys. A pretty intense replay. A close game for sure. It's so rare that you see close games like this anymore. It's so many blowout matches one way or another nowadays. So it's so refreshing to see a good close game like that too. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 40,000 subs, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful weekend. And hope to catch you guys in the next one.